Welcome back, YouTube, to germ-onzone. I'm your host, German, and today we're diving into another horror film, Let the Right One In, which came out in 2008, and it's a Swedish film. Now, I understand. A lot of people don't like foreign films because you have to read, but I think this one is worth it. It's one of the foreign films that's actually worth it. And it's a vampire tale. It really is. And it follows this boy named Oskar, this 12-year-old boy named Oskar, as he is struggling with his day-to-day life. He's being bullied and pushed around by his people at school. And he has this disconnection with his mother. And he has some sort of closeness with his father, but the parents are separated. So it feels like he's all alone in this world and stuff, and he's kind of defenseless, has no direction in his life. However, he eventually meets a newcomer, Håkan and Eli. They end up coming into the neighborhood and actually staying in the same apartment that he lives in. And he starts to develop this close relationship with his neighbors, well, specifically Eli. All right. Now, Eli is a 12-year-old girl who is never comes out, always quiet, only comes out at nighttime. And that's how they first met. That he met her and she let him know, we can't be friends. And the reason why is because Eli is always on the move. Håkan is always on the move. And it doesn't even take long to show you why. It's because Håkan is killing people. He's a serial killer for Eli, because Eli is the vampire. She needs blood, and he's willing to go cut people's throat and basically fun it out. But the problem is, Håkan is basically starting to fail. He's not really being successful with his missions. So it forces Eli to go out there and do her own hunting. Sometimes even killing people, but there's witnesses around to capture everything, which they end up reporting to their friends, which makes the whole situation even more difficult for Eli to even stay in the area. At the same time, some people are being affected to the point where they're turning into vampires themselves. What I say about this film is they do a good job at explaining the point, the world. They basically world building. They do a good job of establishing what vampires are like in this world. What they need to feed on, what they're weak to, what are their strengths. They do an excellent job with that. The only thing I say that they did not an amazing job to do is basically connected with the book even more. There's some details that they add from the book, but some of the things like how old is Ellie, they did not mention that. Also, a big part of the story that you find out later on is that Ellie is not a girl. She's actually a boy that's been castrated right when around the time 12 years old when she first got turned into a vampire. Well, he got turned into a vampire, and we don't know why. Some of these details I'm telling you because I read the description for the book. That's how I had to read aspects outside of the movie just to find that out. But we get to see as this adventure goes on, Håkan, he ends up failing to the point where he ends up throwing acid on his face when he's almost caught. So when he's caught and taken to the hospital, Ellie visit him one more time before feeding on him and letting him drop to his death and stuff because he's done. They never really explain in this film why was he really doing this. At first, I thought it was going to be very similar to, even though I watched this before the TV show made sense because someone's protecting their child. That was Eleanor in the show was this guy's child and stuff, is actually a kid. I understand why he was doing this, but I didn't understand for this character. Now in the book, they let you know a little bit more. that's what I do find that's another issue with this film. After that, basically you start to see Ellie just really connect with Oskar. It starts to even giving him basically tips on how to deal with his attackers. You know, hit him harder, and that's what he surely did. He took a stick, hit this one of the bullies named Connie right across the ear, made him pay for constantly attacking him. You know, however, the forces and people are coming after Ellie. You know, it's like they developed this friendship, this close friendship, where they defend each other around every single turn. You know, if the cops are coming and stuff like that, or well, I wouldn't say the cops, but if like vigilante people are coming to hunt down Ellie, he's right there to help her out. You know, even though she is more physically imposing and actually able to do more stuff, he's willing to stand up more now than he ever did in his life. So she did give him the confidence to stand up for himself. You know, even though he was really kind of thinking about it, he didn't actually start taking the actions until she arrived. You know, but as I said, 200 years old. But you also start to see this romantic relationship that's starting to establish. Now, finding out that in the book that Ellie was 200 years old, even though turned at the age of 12, I feel like it was going to be a difference and stuff, but this whole time trapped inside the mind of a 12-year-old, where that's what, like, someone's taking care of you this whole time and stuff, someone's always supplying that. So I started to think that maybe Ellie is trying to have another a caretaker, which she probably sees in Oskar, that he could be the next caretaker to watch over her when things need to get going. But she does her own caretaking when he eventually goes to practice. He's trying to better himself. You know, you see him trying to involve himself over time, Oskar is. But what happens is Jimmy, the older brother of Connie, who got hit in the ear earlier in the film, he decides this mother gotta pay for hitting my little brother. So that's what they did. They told him, you gonna have to keep your head under this water for 3 minutes. If you can't, then I'm gonna take one of your eyes out. I'm gonna stab one of your eyes out. And Oskar agreed because he didn't want that pain. So Jimmy pushed his head underneath the water. But it didn't take long before Ellie falls up and comes up and basically slaughters everybody. Well, except one kid. The only kid that seemed to be worried and didn't want to be involved. But she slaughters everybody. Arms, limbs, bodies just ripped apart, left there. And after that, they both decide just to leave the city together, you know. And he's carrying her in a case, you know, giving her knocks on the suitcase, letting her know that I'm here. We got each other. And that's really the film of Let the Right One In. But I also mentioned, like I said earlier, they did a good job with establishing the world. Even when I say let the right one in, there's rules to that. Like, Ellie cannot enter the home unless someone invites her in. Otherwise, she starts spewing out bloods from all over, ears, nose, eyes, everything and stuff, you know. It's like it's killing them. Like, they can't hunt from inside. If they're outside, then they can do whatever they want and stuff. So we see the rules with that in this world and stuff. So I will say they did an excellent job. The only problem is that when it connects, like, there's big details that they hint at from the book, but they never really got into it. And that's why I have to give this movie a 4 out of 5. Like, this movie is good. It really hits, you know, the steps that it needs to, but the problem is that it's missing some beats. But yeah, that's been my review of Let the Right One In. If you go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this film, or like, you can even watch it yourself on Tubi. You can always find it on Tubi. Well, I say that, but Tubi be taking some movies off. But you can find this film on Tubi and check it out. But until next time, peace.